Hi everyone, I'm Dave and welcome to Dean Park. The latest models to arrive at Dean Park are the Accurascale Class 50, and in this video I'm going to give you 10 reasons why you should consider upgrading to the new one as opposed to the previous Hornby version. As always, if you wish to support the channel, please hit those like and subscribe icons, and please consider hitting that notification bell to be alerted of all future uploads from the channel. You'll be glad to hear this video is not going to go on for 40 or 50 minutes. That's not really my style when it comes to doing these type of review videos. I like to get to the point in a timely manner and allow you to decide for yourself. If you have any feedback or want to get in touch, please do so by posting in the comments section below. But in the meantime, enjoy the video. Right, let's start at number 1. And the obvious area, the front or face of the loco. Hornby's model, whilst it looks like a Class 50, does have areas where it's just not quite right. The window proportions are just a bit off, and they look a tad small. This then throws off other areas, like the subtle shapes around the front and cantrail, and in isolation the Hornby model may look good, but put both together and you could then see the small differences. And I think this is an area that's been improved on the Accurascale model. The windows are now in proportion, along with additional details that have been added, such as the small handles above the cab window. It all adds up to a better front face of the loco. Plus, the glazing is finer as well. Details such as lamp irons and rails are very slightly more refined on the new model, and both feature orange ETH and multiple working jumper sockets. However, on the Accurascale model, one of these in particular detaches very easily, as the mounting for this is very shallow. The packaging Accurascale used resulted in these popping off. They're easy to fix back on, however they did come in an unpainted orange plastic, unlike Hornby's which were painted. This manufacturing issue has not gone unnoticed by Accurascale, and they're looking into it, as clearly the intention was to have these painted to match the ETH socket. Because Accurascale have the proportions of the windows correct, this in turn results in a better cab side profile. Sure, the differences are small, but it does capture the slab-sided nature of the 50, along with the subtle flow of shapes down to the ends of the cab at the bottom corner of the body. With the improved windows and finer glazing, you get a good look inside the cab too, which brings me on to reason number 2 for buying an Accurascale Class 50. The cab interior on the Hornby model is good. In fact, when Hornby was at its peak in the early 2000s, it was churning out models like the Class 50, 56 and 60 with highly detailed cabs, and this frankly left Bachmann and Hellion miles behind, and it's only in the last 3 or 4 years that they've got to where Hornby was at the turn of the millennium. However, Accurascale have managed to go a step further, adding in more parts, finer printed detail and lit cab console dials. These are realistically dim, just like on the real locomotive, and add into the mix a realistic cab lighting, which was something you didn't get on the Hornby model, and you've got a class act. There is, however, a small PCB board visible through the windows of the new Accurascale model, and this is the Hall sensor, which controls the flange squeal on sound-fitted models. Some people have commented on this, and it's a bit unsightly, but only visible when the cab light is on, and you're peering through the cab windows. Personally, it doesn't overly bother me. Anyway, you see some technical workings on other models from other manufacturers through the cab windows as well, so it's not just limited to Accurascale. After all, there's a lot of tech crammed into such a small space, so if we want all these fantastic features, some compromises have to be made. And remember, it's an expensive toy when you think about it. I think some people out there really seem to forget this. Even I do at times. I'm staying at the front of the loco to find the third improvement over the Hornby model, and it's at the buffer beam area. Accurascale's model provides more detail, it's a little finer, and the buffer steps are far more refined. Hornby's models tended to lose these steps as they weren't overly robustly attached, and whilst the Accurascale's model has fine mesh platforms on these, They are also prone to detaching as well, so handle with care. Both models, as you'd expect, have lightly sprung buffers, but at least the buffers on the new model don't have any rotation on them, unlike on the Hornby model. Right, on to improvement number 4, the bogies. This is an area that's really improved in models over recent years. I'm not sure exactly when manufacturers started to push the boundaries here, but the first model I really noticed with an upgrade was the Bachmann Class 20. However, the likes of Sutton Loco Works have really been pushing the boundaries here for some years. What loco do you think has the best bogies? I mean, it's not really a topic guys meet up to discuss over a pint, but I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are, so please share those in the comments section below. Hornby's Class 50 bogies are good. There's decent detail, which is mainly formed from a one-piece moulding. However, separate parts also adorn these, helping the model still look the part over 20 years since it came out. Where the Accurascale model really leaps ahead here is with regard to the depth and the added details. You can see right into the bogie of this new model, with brakes being in line with the wheel sets, and the smallest details are also modelled, right down to the cast lettering on the axle boxes, along with some added pipework. Bogie chains are also fitted, with the chain linking the body to the bogie. Now, the mere mention of the words bogie chains will send some into a cold sweat, but fear not, take a few deep breaths and compose yourself, because Accurascale really have this one sorted on the Class 50. They're easily detached and refitted to the body mounting points using a robust friction fit hole and peg arrangement. I've had my bogie chains off and on to access the cab to fit crew, and so far, touch wood, it's not been overly difficult to do, as I show you in this clip. It's looking good for the new Accurascale 50 in its battle with the Hornby model. So what's the fifth area of improvement? Well, I stay below the body and take a look at the design of the underframe. The details added to this new model are comprehensive and visually impressive. I'm not knocking the Hornby model, it still stands up well, but Accurascale has improved on it. One drawback to this extra detail is that it can be too fragile to handle, so my best advice would be not to. There are lots of little parts in this area, so don't put pressure on it. Moving on to number 6, and we're at the roof. Now, I always thought the roof on the Hornby model was pretty damn good. At the end we've got the large headcode box and working marker lights. And I actually think that the horn grills on the Hornby model are a better representation of the real thing, being a separately fitted part on this model. There's also good relief for panel lines and hinges. However, where it does start to look a tiny bit dated is around the roof fan. The mesh here isn't as fine as on the Accurascale model, with the separately fitted mesh on the new model being really impressive. It gives a good view of the large red cooling fan underneath, and this operates on the Accurascale model using a small motor, which puts the fan on and off automatically depending on how hard you're working the loco. This is a feature that first appeared on the new Bachmann Class 47 and is now widely adopted by most manufacturers on their new models. Hornby pushed the boundaries back in the early 2000s by having rotating fans, but these were driven off a rubber pulley attached to the main motor drive. This worked, but it could result in the loco having running issues, so many modelers just snipped this band off. Hornby subsequently removed this detail on later releases. One area that I do prefer on the Hornby model is the absence of a removable panel for the decoder. If you watched my videos for a while, you'll know that I'm just not a fan of these magnetically removable panels. They're sometimes too obvious, they often protrude above the rest of the roof, they don't stay on, and in some cases the paint on them doesn't match the rest of the roof. The only one of these removable panels that I really like is on the Accurascale Class 66, where it's the exhaust baffle that you take off and it's not obvious at all. We're now up to mainline speed and on to number 7, and this is all to do with electronics, lighting and mechanism. Early examples of the Hornby 50 were plagued with poor lighting connectivity, relying on brass pickups for passing a signal from the printed circuit board to the head, tail and headcode lights. Thankfully this was improved to plug sockets, and the Hornby 50 has become a reliable loco in operation. Accurascale's model has no such issues, with a full, realistic, reliable lighting suite, including accurate red taillight configuration as seen on the real English electric loco. There is not only a cab light, but also a console and engine room lighting, which is suitably dim. But you know, Accurascale's electronics are just more advanced, and frankly, you'd expect that from a brand new model. The motor on the new 50 is super smooth and can really haul a heavy train. This is thanks in part to its hefty weight as a result of the die-cast chassis. As we get nearer our destination, I'm going to focus on the 8th improvement, and that's the sound. It goes without saying that new models are fitted with better speakers and far more capable decoders, which offer a comprehensive list of sounds, most of which we probably don't even use. The new 50 has over 20 functions on its 21-pin ESU Lock Sound 5 decoder, offering all sorts of realistic sound recordings. This is brought to life with a large Accurathrash speaker. When operating on the layout, it's a real gem. Let's have a listen to some of these sounds now. Well, that was impressive, wasn't it? I really do think that the Accurathrash speaker gets the best out of this Locksound 5 decoder. We now arrive at our penultimate destination, number 9, and I'm going to focus on the grills. When the Hornby 50 arrived, it had several groundbreaking features for the time. Operating cab doors, which were totally pointless, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. Hornby also gave us rotating roof fans, and even moving louver grills. In theory, a great idea. In practice, perhaps not. I mean, how many of the Hornby Class 50 owners actually ever moved the position of the louvers? These also resulted in an overscale recess at the side of the body, which really did detract from the otherwise pleasing aesthetics of the model. Thankfully, this gimmick does not appear on the new model. The grills are fine and to the correct scale. They are suitably flush to the main body sides and work really well to enhance the overall appearance of the model. It just makes the model look better than the previous offering. The 10th and final improvement is the price. Hornby's Class 50s retailed around about the £220 mark, compared to this all new Accurascale model at £190 for the equivalent DCC Ready one, with the sound variant coming in at around £300, and it's not hard to see which one gives you more value for money. Yes, you get retailer discounts with the Hornby models, whereas Accurascale's price is set. But even after discount, the Hornby model isn't cheaper, and it lacks the detail of the new version. Money may not be a driving factor in everyone's buying habits, especially if it's a model that you really want, but in some cases, this Accurascale model makes the Hornby one look out of date and overpriced. So there you have it, 10 improvements that I've identified on the new Accurascale Class 50, as opposed to the previous Hornby model. However, does that mean to say I'll be taking my Hornby 50s, sticking them in a dark cupboard never to be seen again? Of course not. I'll be running them quite happily alongside the new model. And that's what it's all about. It's about adding to your collection and not always replacing it with the latest item. With regard to the 50, yes, there are some marked differences with the new one. However, it doesn't render the Hornby one obsolete. Now, if you're looking for a Class 50 that's robust and can withstand constant handling, then the Hornby model is for you. However, if you want museum quality with more detail, the Accurascale Class 50 is one to consider. There are still some in stock at the Accurascale website, so head over there. I've popped my affiliate link in the description below. In the meantime, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.